Good morning. We're the new world. We have phones as our notes. It is a privilege and an honor to be here today. I'm AK, for those that didn't really know who AK is between us. This is Kayla. We love the Lord and we love this opportunity where we can come share our testimony. We just have a quote that we believe by, and I think this will be explained through this message today. When it's not God's plan, you can't force it. But when it's God's plan, you can stop it. And then a verse that we have is 1 Chronicles. See, I'm the singer, she's the reader. I give thanks to the Lord for He's good, for His mercy endures forever. And I'm going to let Kayla, she's the big talker. I'm the emotional one. My love, you can go.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. AK kind of like introduced the core theme of our testimony. Our testimony is really just one of God's goodness, God's faithfulness. It was a long journey, but it started on the 1st of April when I moved jobs. I was a teacher at Low Primary, and then I got a job at Durbanville Primary, and I moved over, and on the 1st of April, that's when our journey actually started. And one of the first people that came to introduce themselves, so as you know, when you go to a new job, everything's new, new faces, everything. And I remember walking into the staff room, and it's very overwhelming because everyone's got their spots, and you don't know where to sit, and, you're like a little bit like, can I see a familiar face? And I didn't really have a familiar face at that time. But as I walked in, my grade head, who I could connect with, and she came and introduced me, and the very next person was AK, and he was super friendly, and he was like so welcoming, and he's like, yo, you can come sit next to me, and I was like, yo, this guy's really cool, eh? And I was like, well, what a lovely guy. And then, the term started and everything, and later that term, I heard that I was going to be coaching a hockey team with him. So if anyone knows about AK, he is hockey personified. He is a hockey coach. He loves sports, so I was getting to coach a team with him. And so that meant we spent lots of Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays together coaching hockey. I learned so much from him in that time, I'm not going to lie. And then I think that was probably the start to forming a really special friendship with AK. And we spent, like I said, lots of time together, and we became really, really good friends. And towards the end of that year, I was like, this guy, I think he's got other intentions, because he's like really nice, and he's really doing things that, like, he would buy me little gifts, very thoughtful gifts, and he would gently pursue me, and I was like, I think this guy likes me. And then one of my colleagues came to me and said, yes, he does. And so I was like, okay. But with that, AK always found the sweetest ways to pursue me. Now, obviously, I was like, no, like, there cannot be nothing more than friends here, because of his beautiful complexion. And I knew not problems, but I knew what it would cause. I knew that, this was like a no-go territory. But that was ignorant Kayla at that point. And so then time went on. I started developing feelings for him. And now I was like, okay, I need to tell my parents. And then I went to my mom and my dad the one day. And I was like, so there's this guy that likes me at school. And she was like, oh, okay, like every mother, very diplomatic. Yeah, tell me more. And I started telling her, and I was like, he's so kind. He's so friendly. He's so, like, generous. And, like, Mom, guess what? He loves Jesus. And he sings in the worship team at his church. And I was like, doesn't he sound cool, right? And then my mom was like, obviously, oh, he sounds lovely and everything. And I was like, but there is this one thing. He's isiXhosa, and he is a isiXhosa man. And immediately I could see how my parents' face just changed. And it wasn't because, and I don't blame them, and I don't hold them accountable to it at all, because I was like that. And I remember my mom clearly saying to me, you know what, Kayla, you two, you guys can be great friends. He sounds like a great friend. But I'd prefer that you don't take it further. And I would then obviously have to say, so can I ask why? And they said, Kayla, he comes from a different race group. He comes from a different culture. You know what it means, when you get married. It's not a big, and not a small thing. It's quite a big thing, Well, what happens if you got to become part of his culture? What happens if, he's going to expect you to do all what his culture traditionally expects of a wife? And they had a lot of doubts and a lot of questions and that. And I was just like, Mommy, does it really matter? You know what? For me, he's a great person. Does all of that matter? And so I basically entered into a time of a time of my life where I'd fallen in love with a guy, and I didn't really have my parents' blessing, and it was almost like, how do I navigate this? Shortly thereafter, so not shortly after meeting AK, but of the start of our journey, we went into lockdown, and obviously he was locked up in his place, and I was locked up in my place, and it was great in the sense that I could go and pray to the Lord, and I can actually seek the Lord's face, because now I was like, do I follow the route and the plans that maybe my parents had for me, or am I going to see and seek what maybe the plans of the Lord is? And so, yeah, I went on many searching journeys by myself. I just need to find my place, yeah. So I had a lot of time to ponder and pray about AK and myself. My heart felt incredibly torn because I genuinely had fallen in love with AK. I had a lot of my friends telling me, Kayla, there's nothing wrong with it. What you're doing is right and everything. But for me, I'm like, how do I go against, how do I go and not get like my parents or even just my greater family's blessing out of it? And so during lockdown, I felt incredibly selfish. I felt selfish because I allowed AK to continue pursuing me. I allowed AK to, I just allowed what was going on between us to carry on. And I felt like, you know what, you're selfish. You're not listening to what your parents are wanting you to do. And you're being a naughty girl. And if you know, growing up, I was a very rule-bound person. So I didn't really have a rebellious spirit. So in class, besides talking a lot, that was probably the only problem my teachers had with me. Other than that, I was pretty compliant. I didn't want to, on purpose, go break rules and things like that. So I felt really bad. And so then, like I said, lockdown happened. And AK will share a bit on his journey. But in that journey, I was like, okay, Lord Jesus, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice. I don't want to listen to my parents' voice or anything that is taking me in the wrong path. Another part of me was like, Lord Jesus, what happens if I mess up? What happens if I make the wrong decision? What happens if I do something and it doesn't honor you? What happens if I'm not glorifying you into this? What happens if, And I had all these questions and my phone keeps turning off and then I lose my place. But in that, God gave me two scriptures. The first one was Romans 8, verses 35 to 39. He says, can anything ever separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble, calamity, or are persecuted, or hungry, or destitute, or in danger, or threatened with death? No, despite all these things, overwhelming victory is ours through Christ, who loved us. And I'm convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today or our worries about tomorrow, not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. No power in the sky above or in the earth below, indeed nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God. And that became such a comfort for me because I was like, you know what, Kayla, despite anything that happens, you will never be separated from the love of Jesus Christ. And that is, for me, that was the biggest comfort. And I think the biggest struggle for me was I saw AK's, I didn't see AK's color. His race and his culture was nothing for me. And I felt so judged, and I felt like, why are people judging AK for who he is? And I just felt like the Lord said to me, you know what, Kayla, I need to Like I said, my phone keeps turning off. Yeah, and so, like I said, the one thing was being separated. Nothing can separate you from God's love. And I felt very comforted by that. And then the second one comes from 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, that says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge him by his outward appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see the things the way we see them. People judge by outward appearances, but the Lord judges and looks at the heart." And so I thought to myself, you know what? God himself says that people will look at the outward appearance of people and judge that. But I felt like I got a look into AK's heart. And in his heart, he was exactly the husband that I'd been praying for. I was praying for a godly man. I was praying for a man who would love me and pursue me and will see me despite all my faults. And those were the two scriptures that I was like, you know what, this is definitely what I'm doing, and this journey that I'm on is definitely not going against God's will. And I just fell more and more in love with AK because his heart is just, like I said, everything that I've ever prayed for. And I started praying at 16 for a husband, talk about planner. And little did I know that it was not going to be easy. But anyway, so one morning during lockdown, I remember this. So, side note, in lockdown, it was just me and my parents in the house. It was just the three of us. So there were many opportunities. They couldn't run away. So there was many opportunities that I would pin them down and I would have conversations with them and say, like, listen here, but can you see it from this side? And I tried to control this all by myself. Kayla had to change my parents and even my brother and my family's heart. Like, I made it my job to do that. And then the one morning, I went for a run up and down the street. I didn't go around the block. It was just up and down the street because, restrictions. And I came down and I was sitting in the garden having my quiet time. And God gave me a picture, and it was this beautiful sports car. Like, picture the most beautiful sports car. I can say Porsche, Lamborghini, but I'm not really a car fanatic. But it was beautiful. It was sleek. I just remember very black tires. It was glossy paint. It was beautiful. But however, the color of the car was like puke green. It was like not the car color you would probably pick for a car like that. And I just remember seeing this beautiful yet ugly car because the color made it ugly. But in that moment, I just felt like God said to me, Kayla, this car, does the color of this car determine its value? Or is it the mechanisms and the parts inside, the engine, and all the important parts? Is it that determines what the value of this car is, or does the color really matter? Now, for some people, yes, the color does matter, but if you think about whether or not this car is going to fulfill its purpose, the inside bits matter. And I felt like in that moment, God says, Kayla, you have your sports car. His name is AK, and he has all the important parts and the important bits to be a godly husband, and you are focusing on the color, like you're focusing on something that's outside. And that was the time where I was just like, okay, God, you've won me over. Like, I am now going to focus on you, and I'm pursuing this full-heartedly. Now, obviously, I still had to try and get my parents on my side. And I remember the one morning, I going to my mom, and I said, Mommy, I've got a picture, and I've got a story I want to share with you. And I shared with her this picture that I had, and we all of a sudden just both burst into tears, and we just started crying uncontrollably. And my mom said to me, you know what, Kayla, I get what you're trying to say, and I think I'm going to stop praying that God will not let this happen, and I'm going to ask God now to start changing my heart. Then, I think about a few months later, I was away on holiday, and my aunt messaged me. My aunt messaged me saying, "Oh, I think you and AK are so beautiful." And I was like, "What? I don't understand. Like, I never put any picture on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. Like, I think you guys are going to be a perfect match." And I was like, I don't understand what happened. So then I contacted my mom, and I said, Mom, why is Auntie Diane messaging me and saying, like, AK and I will make a perfect couple? And then my mom said, it's because I sent a message to every single family member telling them And it was a photo of AK and I, and it was this whole message of how she wants my family to know this is Kayla and this is AK and this is her new boyfriend. He's a lovely guy, and this whole message was about how he's just the most perfect guy for Kayla, and we love him and we've accepted him. And I was just like, God, did you really just do that? Did you just really change my mom's heart and my dad's hearts? And did this just really happen? And it just reminds me, like, God is so faithful. Like, I know that in the interim, I did break ties with AK. I broke up with him, not that we were really together, but I broke up with him. I said, you are released, go your way, go and find a girl that will love you, and you go and live your life, and I will go and try and live and find my life. And so, yeah, and that wasn't great, and it just, how everything just came together. And so my part of the story is how God challenged me that people will look and judge on the outside, but what's inside is really what matters. And what was a stumbling block in the eyes of my parents, it was no longer a stumbling block, because God had changed their hearts and they fully accept and fully love him so much. And it's just such a joy, and it was such an awesome moment to see that they were now back on our side. Oh, you've got your own.
Hello. Yeah, she spoke basically everything. That was not even on her notes. She touched on my part as well. But yeah, so her journey and my journey are totally different. Because in my journey, I knew in the bottom of my heart what I was here from. I'm from Eastern Cape, and I'm not from Cape Town. The Lord sent me to Cape Town randomly. I was working at Sterling Baptist. I don't know if some of you know SBC. There we go, SBC family. I was working at SBC in East London as doing a gap year at church. And then one day, the pastor of the church then was Matthew Francis, and he said to me, AK, you need to pack your bags and you need to leave. There's a bigger picture for you on the other side of the world. It was so random because I didn't know who I'm going to, what I'm going to do in Cape Town. And I just packed my bags. I knew my mom was staying in Khayelitsha at that moment. So then I just packed my bags and I went to go live with her. And then all of a sudden, doors just kept opening. And then opening in Durbanville, opening in southern suburbs. Started coaching, doing what I loved, which was coaching. And then thereon, just the journey started. March 2018 was the day I met this lady. Well, I didn't meet her. I saw her. I went to go visit a church, Common Ground, down at the bottom. It's when she moved here for a while, went to Common Ground. I was with a friend of mine. I was literally nonchalant, sitting at the back, praising the Lord. And then this lady comes with, what do you call that thing now? The offering basket. See, I was not focused on that. I was focusing on her. And she came to drop it off, but she went so quickly that I like my eyes, you like follow. You just followed everything. And then I asked my friend, who's that girl? And then she was like, man, it's Kayla. She serves with one of the other life groups. Then I was like, okay, cool. It was done. It was in January, it's not March 2018 I met her, but January 2018 I saw her. And then this Monday afternoon, she was still at Gene Low, but she came through to come and practice. And then she walked in at Durbanville. I was working at Durbanville as a coach. And then she walked in, and I was like, I remember this face. I see this face, and there's like a light shining. It's like the door is opened. I'm going. And then it was just so beautiful to see her again, and then the journey started. But the journey didn't start so well. Yes, I was that guy that liked to give gifts. One of my love languages is gifts, and I do that a lot. And I just randomly put a flower, buy her flowers, things like that. I love doing that. That's who I am. And that one of this March, I think it was June holiday. It was June holiday. We were still friends then. Haley, they will know what I did. I made a box, and this box for me is very important. I did share it at the wedding. I made a box, and the box, each thing in that box had a meaning of something. Thanks to Haley and Amber and all of them, if you are watching, they know exactly. I contacted them and I asked, okay, what is Kayla like? What is this, that? And then I also bought watermelon sweets. This for me then was trying to get in the good books of Mama Esme because she loved the watermelon sweets. So I said to Kayla, this you will remember of your mom when you're all the way in Zimbabwe on a mission trip. And then there, I think I sparked her heart, and my heart just went crazy because I knew inside her heart that this was something that meant a lot for her. I've carried on pursuing Kayla in a very difficult time where she was blocking off. And I think, obviously, as she said, she was blocking off because of the past and the future of our country and what is actually happening in our country. But one thing I knew was that the Lord was with us and with me in this whole fight and this whole journey. I wouldn't pursue something that I know it's not right, and I wouldn't pursue something that I know that it doesn't have the Lord in it. For me, there was moments where we actually went to go meet, have coffee, and we actually sat there from 2 o'clock all the way to 8 o'clock. We were just chatting, trying to figure out, what are we doing here? What is this? Is this the Lord? Is this not the Lord? But she cut the ties straight away that day. And then a few days after that, I said, no, the Lord doesn't work like this. The Lord has a bigger picture for us, and this is what it is. And I told her my side of the story, and that how the Lord has brought me to Cape Town to be a change, to be a difference, to make I believe the Lord is, I'm a light in a mist. I'm a light in the darkness. I don't like saying things like that, but unfortunately the Lord has made us all light for someone else in their life. And I think I was the light for a community where it needed a difference. And me and my wife have made that difference to a lot of people, and we've actually changed a lot of people's hearts about mixed race relationships. And I just want to encourage people while I'm also here. I think it's very difficult, and I think it's a very difficult thing for a parent to say, here you go. Go marry that person. Go marry this person of another culture. But one thing I think I can encourage people is put away culture and look at the heart inside, and look at the person's heart, and look at what are they all about. And I think that was one of our biggest drives, is that we both love the Lord, and we were for one. We were all doing this for the Lord. We're not doing it for our liking or anything like that. We really wanted to do it for the Lord and actually just make a change in this province and this country. And I've got a verse to just end off with. I see there's a timer. I know I'm a worship leader, so they're trying to time us and kick us out here. Thanks, Brett. We know. We just have a verse for that we also love. It's Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. So I believe God is using our story to break provision ideas and social prejudice to challenge people's benefits. But unlimitedly, He is using our story to glorify godness of God and the faithfulness of it. For those that don't know, we are married for 10 months now. We got engaged on 1st October 2022. We got married in 2023. 30th of, I almost lost that. 30th of June. I did say I must get a tattoo so I can always remember. And now we are 10 months lovely married and serving the Lord. And we also really, really, really love the Lord and the worship and the church. So this is our home. We come from here. I'm from Sterling Baptist, moved here. So this is home. So thank you for offering this opportunity for us to come and just share what we've been through. An East London girl, a boy, and a Cape Town girl joined together and just to make the Lord wonderful and just profound. Thank you very much, guys.